Welcome to Hot Topics in International Trade, brought to you by Braumiller Law Group and Braumiller Consulting Group. Welcome, I'm Bob Brewer with Braumiller Law Group. Thanks for joining me and James Holbein once again, our D.C. counsel out of Washington, D.C. Listen, you and I delved into the FTX thing in our last podcast, and we got a lot of pings on that, but we're telling peeps right now, we got to move on, okay? I'm going to move on to the standpoint of what happens now, since we're kind of past this. And you guys can delve into, watch the previous podcast because we delved into Jim's bio a little bit more there. But just know this, and I'm going to reiterate one more point. You're talking to a guru on the subject here, not me, him. And this guy on Mondac just won the FinTech Award. And I'm talking about United States of America representing Mondac's thought leadership, and this guy's 30,000 reads just in the past 7 months on Mondac alone. I think it's spread over about maybe 5-6 articles you've written.
Yeah.
And it's been like...
Actually, the 8th one just came out recently.
And we got a December newsletter I'm going to drop in about another...
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yep. Another week, kids. Yep. Hang on, it's coming. But, all right, so we're past talking about right now for the most part, Sam Bankman-Fried, whatever you want to call him at this point. But now we got to move into what the hell happens now. And the U.S. government says we've got to do something, but we all take a step back and say, wow, that's going to be years from now. How does the private sector then get involved with pushing this forward? The U.S. government and where we are now with this is crypto, digital assets, and it's two different things in my mind. They light speed versus the U.S. government getting involved. Help me out here, Jim. How does this even remotely happen?
Okay, so first off, the government is not going to build any of it unless they develop a central bank digital currency, which they just don't have.
They're talking about it.
They would like to.
Yeah.
They want to. They kind of sort of think it's a great idea, and I don't think that it's going to happen because I don't think the government's going to put the resources toward it that they should. If Congress went all in, well, that's a whole other issue. I think what's going to be happening, we have several things going on that I want to talk on, and so let's kind of
go ahead, break it.
Structure this. Congress is going to have to do some legislation. It's pretty obvious. So that's going to be something to look for in 2023.
Okay.
I want to come back to that.
All right, that's fine. We'll come back.
The agencies that are currently involved in the areas of securities, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the areas of commodities, the Commodities Futures Trading Corporation, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, which manages money, the Fed, which manages the central bank, and all of those and others, but those are the Treasury Department, obviously. All of those agencies have existing mandates, and they have existing legal authorities as well as regulatory authorities, all based on the existing model for how do we manage the financial system. And that's a centralized managed model, a central bank with a set of banks around it, and then commercial banks around them, and then other things like credit unions and other sorts of.
Okay, you say I'm
players.
I'm thinking 10 years right now.
Well, 10 years is going to be fast. 10 years. I think 10 years for the digital asset economy to stand on its own feet and be as ubiquitous as debit cards we use now in supermarkets and at the gas station, and to get cash, we'll be able to do the same thing probably but I mean to do it reliably and accepted by everybody. That's 10 years.
See, that's a tough part.
About right.
In my mind, let me stop you just one second, because here I'm thinking, those who have been reluctant to ever get into crypto, maybe they were sitting on the fence and then boom, FTX happened. I mean, hell, I was looking at who was ripping off crypto to begin with, the Russians, the Chinese, and especially the North Koreans.
Yes.
They're funding their damn program. They're like 7,000, the peeps that do nothing but go rob crypto.
Right.
The government's got to take that into consideration as well.
I mean, that's a whole nother issue.
I know what I'm saying.
About hacking and computer security. And guess what? Blockchain and digital distributed ledger technology actually helps security. It doesn't hurt it.
Right.
So they would be wise to integrate that kind of technology into the security system. frankly, a lot of the reasons hacking is going on, in my opinion, has a great deal to do with the intelligence agencies don't want to apply things that could be applied because they want to get insight into the terrorists. And so I think everyone in this, but that sounds like a conspiracy theory, and I don't want to.
In a way, but I
there's
got what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, there's sufficient ways. I've managed several big IT builds at the International Trade Commission. I built the 4 largest digital systems and assets for that organization as either the leader or co-leader for all those programs. So I understand how to build technology, digital technology. And you can build in security. There's ways to do it. And it isn't as hard as a lot of folks would make it. And if you use VPN, which is virtual private networks to give you secure lines, and you encrypt your computers and stuff, there's ways to stop this hacking stuff. So a lot of it's just sloppy, and quite frankly, organizations that are ripping people off are not going to invest in the kind of things that'll stop the hacking. I'll get off hacking, but that's an important component to look at. I think blockchain, and not cryptocurrency per se, but the technology it's built on, helps, doesn't hurt in the security arena if applied correctly.
Okay. Now, so let's.
That's one.
All right. So, if I were elected president of the United States, just
I moved to Canada. Oh, I'm sorry. That was mean.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, you recognize your own shortcomings when it comes to particular topics, and maybe others don't. But you surround yourself with the best of the best regarding that. So why would all right. So my expectation would be just that. The government says, let's do this. Let's put some money up. Let's get the right people in the room, and let's get this puppy going. Okay? And there are a lot of people out there, I think, that would volunteer for it because they want this to work.
Yes, I think you're right. Look, in the most recent article I put together for the newsletter, I was taking a look at the digital assets framework the White House has published in October or in September, based on 9 reports that came out under the executive order.
Yeah, maybe telling me you were breaking them all down, trying to turn it into an article. It's very cumbersome, I know.
Well, you can't. It's almost useless to summarize all the reports in one article.
Right.
They're books. Each one of them is a book.
Yep.
So I don't think that's fair to them or to us. But the White House went ahead and distilled it into what they called a framework. And what they're calling for is for the government to do more of what the government does. Get committees together, go ahead and let's do some studies, let's fund some research, let's do what we already do and do it better and hire some more people to do what we already do. But the angle I didn't see is, but how do you really address the issues of making this technology more accepted?
Right.
And that wasn't in there. And frankly, the digital assets sector needs to get its own act together. They need to make this technology easier for people to use. You have to go to a wallet and an exchange and different ways of functioning with it. You have to have your crypto key all stored somewhere, and it can be very cumbersome. For the average person, it's more cumbersome than they want to fiddle with. They just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then the speculative nature of all these currencies has to do with the tokens, or the SEC is calling them securities because effectively they're crowdfunding startups to get, and they issue these tokens, and people pay money in, and effectively that gives the capital for a company to then do something with the funds, pay its employees to build a new piece, the better mousetrap in crypto, the better front end, the better exchange, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I haven't actually, I would like to understand myself better what the private sector is actually doing and how this is all working, because I can't keep track of 20,000 tokens.
No.
And what do they mean? And that's, so I personally don't even invest in crypto right now. When I've bought it, it's been Ethereum or Bitcoin because I understand that,
right.
And I know that they're
and
going to
some
be
just
good
buy
for
a little bit to learn more.
But I don't have money to speculate with, to go like penny stocks. That's what buying crypto is to me. It's like buying penny stocks. And if I had $1 million, maybe I'd buy some, but not right now.
Yeah.
I believe, though, it's going to change, and with better regulation, better oversight with the SEC and CFTC in particular, SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, CFTC, Commodities Futures Trading Corporation, those two particular agencies are going to have a big role. There's been a lot of, I mentioned Congress and legislation. Let me delve on that for a minute because we don't have a ton of time left. Several bills have been drafted. There's a Lummis-Gillibrand bill. Debbie Stabenow senator has co-authored a bill with the Republican.
Right.
And that's the one Sam Bankman-Fried was
Yep.
looking to support. And so I'm not sure that's the right formula because it helped him. Let's remember, he was kind of crooked. But I don't think any of those bills make it through this session of Congress. And so there'll be another round starting in January, which is normal.
Okay.
And I believe there'll be several competing bills that could be issued.
Right.
Eventually, a consensus will between the lobbying from the wealthy folks in the crypto sector, the lobbying from the wealthy folks in the banking sector, lobbying from civil society and folks who don't have as much money but have a bigger say in how the metaverse, the Web3 economy should grow.
Yeah.
By the way, what's Web3? Real simple. I'm going to tell you that in a minute. No. I want to finish the thing about the legislation. But with all the various interest groups and voices to be heard, there is a piece of legislation that will help us to get real transparency on crypto transactions. And I think for that, you'd want to have a really fairly high limit under which all the transactions, if they're visible on a blockchain, you don't need to know who's doing it. The wallets stay the way they are. They're just wallets.
It's totally transparent.
Yeah, because you're getting more transparency than you get if they were in a bank. So the authorities shouldn't quibble about that. But over a certain level, then if something looks funny and there are indicia of either fraud or some kind of other illicit activity, the legal authorities should have to go and get a warrant and have probable cause to then get enough information to go to the person who owns the wallet to then do an investigation. And if you put it like that, that's like the kind of assurances the private sector need, but also the public authorities need. So you don't need to have blanket, everybody gets to see everything about everything. That's silly. And the AML, the anti-money laundering, and KYC, know your customer rules are very tough on banks. They don't work for crypto, so that needs to be dealt with. And there are other things like that we can deal with.
All right, what do you want to cover in the last 2 minutes?
Web 1, Web 2, Web 3.
All right, go for it.
Why do we call it Web 3? Web 1 was reading. You got to go and look at web pages, and you couldn't interact with it very much. Web 2 is read-write. You can go on a web page, you can conduct business, you can interact, provided information. Web 3, through using, for example, you can use an NFT for yourself that's crypto protected and have it be your digital identity. And we can so it's read-write identity. And with your digital identity, then you can trademark your own anything. We could be doing this, and I own the rights to my visage. I own the rights to my words. And you can do that through copyright, but with digital, it makes it a lot more straightforward, and it covers a lot more media. And it enables people to then earn more independent of anybody else. They get to earn it, not somebody else owning their rights. I think that is going to free up a lot of innovation if we do it right.
Cool.
So, there you are.
All right, so let's just recap. So far, in our first podcast, we covered really the landscape in FTX.
Yep.
In this one, we kind of went over the landscape of what's the government going to do or not do or be able to do.
Yeah.
And now in the upcoming podcast I want to do with you, I want to delve more into the future. I kind of want to get your opinion of where you see a lot of this going. And if you were in charge, let's say the Biden administration picked up the phone and they said, okay, Mr. Guru, FinTech Award winner of the United States, most read author in the U.S., we need your counsel on this. You've already been with the government for years, so why would that be so out of school, Jim? I mean, come on. You ready?
Sure.
You ready?
I'd be glad to share my ideas. I don't think I want to be president.
No, you're not going to be president. Neither am I. Neither am I.
Yeah,
but I just
no,
say,
I think that this is a really innovative technology. It's not the panacea for everything, but it opens up ways of doing business that are both highly productive, more efficient, more decentralized, and if done well, they can be regenerative and actually result in better gains for society. It's not a total taking, but a regeneration, a giving back that can be enabled by this, and I see that as a strength of it. So I'd like to go into that in the next broadcast.
Let's do that then. Let's follow up part 3. Then we're going to delve into that.
Looking
All
forward
right.
to it.
Thanks everybody for stopping by. See you soon.
Relax. We've got you covered. Global trade compliance to us is just another day at the beach.